Academy of Family Physicians. I'm the Director of Resident and Student Initiatives, and I've enjoyed that position about 16 years. I've been serving on the board, it's been maybe 4 years. This is maybe my 4th year. But I've been involved with the FMEC since I started at PAFP. We developed quite a strong bond over connecting with students and residents, and that will last.
Susie, you are frozen.
Me?
There you go. Okay, yes.
Oh, hi, I'm Susie Kay. Hi. I've been engaged with FMEC long enough that I know every single person on this call today, including David Swee. And David, I'm old enough to have retired, but I haven't retired yet. But thank you, but you're mentoring me. So I'm Susan Kay. I'm the chair of the Department of Family Medicine at Overlook Medical Center, part of Atlantic Health in New Jersey. And I think I'm on my 3rd term of the board, and I think my last year will be next year. If I'm right about that, Larry, I don't know. So I've been on the board now for at least, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. And I was treasurer at one point as well, Kathleen, but I also never ascended to the presidency.
Pete Ratcliffe.
Good to see everybody. I came to Lancaster in '02 to succeed Nick. Met Larry at the FMEC meeting in the fall of '02, and he gently encouraged me to join the board in 2003, in which I served in 2011. I stepped down as program director at our residency last year and succeeded by Pam. I'm working 75% time in the Lancaster Health Center. This is my Friday night. I've had 2 11-hour days. I'm like toast, but the rest of the week is smooth sailing. Doing a little bit of work with Implicit and a little bit of work with the Clinic for Special Children, and life is good. There is life after directorship, Nick.
Good. Mitch?
Hi, I'm Mitch Kaminsky, and I am currently vacationing in the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, staying at my twin sister's house, catching up with family. I am a program director for population health at Jefferson in Philadelphia, and also in the Department of Family Medicine. I stepped in for Bill's vacant seat, so I've been on the board just a year.
Oh, Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Paladine. I'm the residency program director at New York Presbyterian Columbia in New York City, and a current FMEC board member.
Craig?
Oh, me, Craig, okay.
Yep.
I'm Craig Clark. Hi, I've been with Virginia Commonwealth University for many years, but right now I'm in my next chapter. I've joined those retired people, and I was with the board from 2012 to 2018. And before that, I was on the host committee, which is when Larry found out I can't shut my mouth. So he said, maybe I'll get him to so I can shut him up. So that's why I'm here.
Joe?
I'm Joe Gravel. I'm chair at Mount College of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So I'm the western border of FMEC. That's what Larry sent me on the secret mission. So don't tell anyone at STFM. And I've known Craig. Craig mentioned it just before. Next July it'll be 40 years ago, Craig.
Oh my God.
Craig was my advisor in residency. So
and you survived.
Wow. Very cool.
Wow.
Chrissy?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chrissy Alexander. I am the chair of family medicine at the Metro Health System in Cleveland, Ohio. I also chair the Wellbeing and Engagement Committee for the hospital and help to direct our school health program. I can't remember how long I've been on the board, to be honest with you. My oldest son is 16, so I feel like it's somewhere in the order of 16 years, but that isn't exactly right, I'm sure. And I'm the outgoing past president. And Amy soon will be taking that slot. And Larry does still panic if you go on vacation and you don't answer emails. Just kidding you, Larry. But Yeah, so I was a very bittersweet position because I am not sure there is life after the board, but now that I see all of you, maybe there is.
Pam Vanenchek?
Sorry. Hi, I'm Pam Vanenchek from Penn Medicine Lancaster General Hospital, where I'm the program director. Succeeded Steve and Nick. I am on the board, I think 7 or 8 years. I'm currently serving as the treasurer, but I first became acquainted with FMEC when it was still the STFM Northeast region, when it was in Lancaster in 1992 when I was a resident.
Bill Warning?
Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Warning, Program Director at Crozier Keystone Family Medicine outside of Philadelphia. And probably the most recent ex-board member. I was treasurer at one point, and I was on the board 10 years ago when Joe Gravel talked me onto getting onto the board and thought it would be good things, and it was awesome. So good to see everyone. I think I know almost everyone on, which is awesome.
Marguerite?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marguerite Duane. I am a very proud graduate of Lancaster General and had the privilege to work under both Dr. Zervanos and Dr. Radcliffe as my residency directors, and worked with Pam Vanenchek for quite some time. I first became acquainted with the FMEC when I was a medical student in 1999 and attended a meeting in Syracuse. And that's where I first saw Dr. Zervanos, but I was way too shy to actually go over and say hello to him. Decided to wait for my interview to do that. And I think I have Steve Radcliffe to thank for being on the board, because I remember getting a call from Larry Bauer when I was 8 months pregnant, and he said, Steve thinks you would be a really good leader and should be a part of our board. And I said, Larry, I'm having a baby in a month. He's like, great, bring him with you. So my first board meeting was in May of 2004 with my 3-week-old son at the Graham Center. And I served for 7 years, I think, 7 or 8 years, going off in 2011 or 2012. In large part because we had started the FACS project, which is one of the FMEC's collaborative projects. And we are getting ready to celebrate our 10th anniversary in October. And we're continuing to grow and do lots of great things. I'm actually currently in Utah right now. So I'm well outside of the Northeast. I am actually doing a research fellowship at the University of Utah in women's health and fertility awareness. So moved my whole family out here in the midst of a pandemic, and we're excited about the adventure.
Are you working with Joe Stanford?
Of course, day in and day out. He's my boss.
Oh.
He's my mentor. Yeah, it's great.
I go to Leon McRae next.
Hi, sorry about that. I thought my earlier meeting was gonna end earlier, and things kind of ran over. So Leon McRae, current board member. I'm actually here because of Bill and Amy, who are some of my professional heroes. You know, super excited to be a part of the board. I currently serve as a residency program director at Drexel / Tower Health. I'm also the senior associate dean for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so really excited to be a part of and continue to be a part of FMEC and all the forward movement. And really looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say tonight.
And he's about to become president-elect of the FMEC board during our annual meeting coming up.
Ooh, hey.
Nice.
Sally? You're on mute, Sally.
You're on mute, Sally.
There you go.
I'm Sally Rixey. I'm Mrs. Mohammed Al Ibrahim.
So Leon, I think that maybe you, there we go. Okay, go ahead, Sally.
One more time, I'm Sally Rixey. And I was on the board in the beginning of this century. A little bit after Steve, because he was already on the board and hitting me in Pittsburgh, whatever year that was. And then I got to be an officer and president, and I'm retired now, working very, very, very part-time mentoring people at Chase Brexton. And I got to do some Zoom teaching of second-year Hopkins students in public health and preventive medicine. But mostly I'm just actually enjoying myself tremendously. So good to see everybody.
Ellen Roth.
I'm a past board member, actually twice, past president, and I was thinking I attended 25 straight meetings last year, so I'm proud to still be part of this organization.
Cool. Mike Rosenthal.
Mike Rosenthal. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. I'm at University of Pennsylvania the last 4 years, for those who have not been keeping up with my day-to-day whereabouts. And I'm doing most of our department's development for primary care and our family. We have a practice that's opened at Pennsylvania Hospital in Center City, Philly. I was on the board through most of the 1700s. It's been a good memory and a good time since then. And been catching up the last couple centuries. And,
That explains the Thomas Jefferson look.
That's right. That's right. We started with Jefferson. Now we're with Ben Franklin. You know, one or the other. Yeah, I remain the youngest senior advisor to the meeting.
Thank you. Andrea?
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Anderson. I am the Associate Chief of the new Division of Family Medicine at George Washington University. Previous to that, I thank you for the applause. GW is an orphan school, as most of you know, so it's very exciting. Last year we matched 16 in family medicine, which actually was more than 3 other departments, so we were very excited about that. Previous to that, I spent 15 years at a large community health center called Unity Healthcare in DC, where I worked to help establish our teaching health center and GME residency program that is now going strong for 6 years. I have a specific interest in professionalism across the arc of the physician career. Towards that end, I direct our UME GME transition course, which is a mandatory course at GW, 170 medical students each year. I write questions for the USMLE and sit on the management committee of the USMLE. I'm the chair of our state medical board, and I'm also on the board of directors of the American Board of Family Medicine. And so I have an interest in the full arc of professionalism and how it's taught to our learners. I went to college with Leon McRae, and I credit Joe Gravel as a trusted mentor, and I appreciate working with Alan Douglas for a few presentations we've done together. And I'm very excited to be a new board member.
Stacey?
Hi, friends. It's so exciting to see you all.
Diana.
So I'm Stacey Potts. I'm at the University of Massachusetts. I just graduated from my program director role, and I'm now the vice chair of education. I am a past board member and past president, and I miss you all so much. It's so fun to see you all.
So I'm going to go back now to 2 staff, FMEC staff. Doug Hull, want to tell people who you are?
Sure. Hi, I'm Doug Hull. I started with FMEC as CFO in, I guess, January this year. And I'm honored to be associated with you guys. You are so talented and experienced. It's quite an honor. So thank you for allowing me to help.
Susan Eckert.
And I am Susan Eckert. I am helping with the development function and raising philanthropy. I retired from the United Way of Lancaster County after 25 years. And with many of the, then ended up doing a stint with a Partnership for Public Health, where I came in contact with many of the family physicians that had been trained by Nick Zervanos and Steve Radcliffe, and they were invaluable. How they could work in the community was just astonishing. So I'm glad to be here, and feel like I've really enjoyed your colleagues.
So I think that's everyone who's currently on the call, Madam President. Have I missed anyone? Nope, I think I got them all.
Wonderful. All righty, well, that's good. This is wonderfully fun. Larry, I think you are going to fire up our next document, correct?
Our next document is the table of organization, I believe.
All righty. So I know that Lisa Schmiedemann sent much of this out to folks before tonight, but we really thought that part of the value and the specialness of all of us getting together tonight was to show where we've been to where we are now, to give you a better sense of where we are going. And I'm going to let Larry do the details on this, but I think the key things to look at of our table of organization of whom we comprise right now, and depending on which decade you were part of the board, the FME staff could have been just Larry, and then maybe Lisa, and then we've added on, and you've met Susan and Doug, who have been invaluable, which is wonderful. The Board of Trustees has grown. We started at 11, and now we have increased to a maximum of 15, so that's another change. And then the fact that we need tech support, you know, from the IT and computer realm also is newer. So Larry, I'll let you fill in the details.
So once upon a time, there was a fear that this was Larry's organization. If something happened to Larry, it would all just fall apart. And let me just say from the outset, the board has grown and matured and gotten the kind of the core philosophy. You can see our mission statement there. We believe family medicine is critical to the health of the nation, and we're working to achieve the full potential of family medicine. And the full potential of family medicine lies not in the hallowed past, but in the future, is family medicine and others create a primary care driven system in the United States. And we're foursquare behind that. So the organization has grown. So if something happened to Larry tomorrow, there is considerable infrastructure to carry things forward. Yes, there would be a transition, but I have great faith in the leadership of the board and the others who I'll mention here in just a second. So in the technical support, we have an accounting, a very secure accounting operation. We have an annual audit that's done by Flagel, Huber, and Flagel to check on making sure that we're following all the proper rules and there's no problems. We have a woman graphic design and printing specialist who does all of our brochures and things like that. We have an IT advisor, Mike Corcoran, who gets the FMEC. And we have, in Dayton, we have a gentleman by the name of Dan Kimura, who is, when we have a computer problem, it's like, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? Well, we call Dan, and he comes to our homes and does the work, or he can do it remotely. So that's pretty solid. On the FMEC staff side, you can see Lisa, Jennifer, Denise, and Shayla. They have all been with the FMEC for a considerable number of years. In Lisa's case, it's 16. So they know their roles, they've got their areas of responsibility. And also we have Susan Eckert working with us in development and Doug working with us as Chief Financial Officer. And I have to tell you, it is so great when an issue comes up relevant to one of their areas of expertise for me to be able to just contact them and say, what do you think? What can we do? And they help us out. Something you may not be aware of is we have started, we've carved the Northeast region into 7 neighborhoods. And each year when we hold a meeting, I find somebody in that neighborhood where the meeting is being held who is well connected locally. I have no idea how that just happened. So
entertainment, right?
You have a grandchild running around there?
Yeah.
He gets to make sure we're paying attention.
Yeah, right. I have no idea how that happened. So at any rate, Ron Chichevich is in Western Pennsylvania. Ron is very well connected. He's a senior level guy. He helped us with our fundraising when our meeting was in Pittsburgh. He's already started the networking for us to get ready for next year's meeting, which will be in Pittsburgh. He also is a former journalist reporter, and we have him writing for various things for the FMEC. For example, he is writing up the Meritus story and just delivered a draft to them. And so we'll be beginning to publish materials that help people understand about family medicine and about the FMEC. In the DC area, we found Joe Grundy, the son of Paul Grundy, for those of you who know Paul. And he's a bright young guy who very talented, very well connected. And I will say that the reason Susan Eckert is with us is she was our advisor for when the meeting was in central Pennsylvania, and helped us with her connections to move things forward. Under the FMEC members, one of the things for the board members who haven't been with us for a while, we've created what I call revenue streams. So we have academic partners now. And those are medical school-based departments of family medicine, community hospital family medicine residency programs, community health centers, statewide primary care association, and individual members. That did not exist many years ago. And I can tell you just for the record, because I looked up the numbers, in terms of our academic partnerships, last year, it was $137,000. That was a revenue stream that didn't exist before, and it's just beginning. It has quite a bit of room for growth. We also have organizational sponsors. For example, Bill Warning has done a great job of getting Independence Blue Cross. Richard Snyder, who's a Lancaster grad, they just re-upped for a $10,000 support. And Bill, I think this is either their 5th or 6th year. And hopefully he's also helping us to connect to some of the other Blue Cross Blue Shield plans in our region. We're building relationship with foundations and advocacy organizations. And I wish I knew how to get rid of that. I hope you can see beyond that. We've also created awards, which we've been giving for quite a number of years. So we're finding family physicians who are doing remarkable things out in the larger community. And we give them an award so that medical students can see the potential for leadership in a career in family medicine. We have an Emerging Leader Award for people who are just coming out of residency. We have a Mid-Career Achievement Award, which I think is very helpful for people, particularly in university-based settings where promotion and tenure, you need regional recognition. We have a Visual Arts Award. We have a Creative Writing Award, and we have the This We Believe Award, which allows people a chance to share their kind of core passions and philosophy in front of the whole audience at our annual meeting. And I thought I'd list here some of the major projects. Of course, the FMEC annual meeting continues to be one of our major projects, but we've become much, much more than a meeting. And quite honestly, if the meeting disappeared, the FMEC would still have a great deal of work and a great deal that we are doing that is helping to move towards the full potential of family medicine. So the Implicit Network, I'm going to ask Steve very quickly, could you give us a quick update on the Implicit Network that started at our 2003 meeting?
Well, the first phase was prematurity prevention. We then developed the interconception care model, which is still going strong. We've been linked to National March of Dimes, PA March of Dimes for funding. Dolores Smith linked us then to the PA Department of Health. We finished its first 5-year DOH grant on interconception care, got a second 5-year grant, which started this past July, and will also encompass a new 4th trimester model. We've got expansion of programs with a major HRSA grant in North Carolina, and now collaborating with Minnesota and their Department of Health. So it's clearly going more than just in the Northeast area. It's in the eastern part of the United States and now moving in the Midwestern area. So just a really fun group of people, much like the group of people that are on this call tonight.
Then there's our FACS project. Marguerite, you said a little bit about it. Do you want to say a little more?
Sure. Like I said, we started 10 years ago and we've continued to grow. Last year, we started offering one-day in-person CME conferences. We were averaging around 90 to 100 people at those. We were going to do a conference this year, but we're going to be doing it virtually on October 2nd and 3rd, and we're expecting a good number. And we've also been offering an online elective through Georgetown University. Last year, we had 90 students take the elective. This year, we already have 125 fourth-year medical students registered
from all over the country. And in fact, we've had some medical students. We've got 2 students right now who are medical students from Poland. So we have students from all over the world, which has been fantastic. And another thing I think my team has done really well, and I should say it's a team. We have about 4 or 5 of us that are working, which is why I'm able to be here in Utah, because I've got a great team that's working on this project. But they've done a phenomenal job with fundraising. We've gotten fairly sizable grants from a couple of different foundations, and we have a very strong core of donors. We have about 20 people that give us about $3,000 a month, which is really critical to sustaining our operations. And we were just running a back to school campaign to support the IT work that we were just doing as we expand our elective. And in the last 2 weeks, we were able to raise another $3,000 for that. So we're really excited. It is definitely far larger than the Northeast, but we're very proud to be a part of the FMEC and really appreciate the support of the staff. Larry's team is truly, truly amazing. We're really grateful to them.
So I'll tell you about the Innovators Network. For those who don't know, in 2008, we began to notice that there was a lot of innovation going on in family medicine and general internal medicine. And the board decided that we should find a way to really support that and encourage that if we're going to get to a primary care driven system. So we went out and we invited a number of innovators to come together. At the first meeting in 2008, we found direct primary care before it had a name. That has led us, next year we found Jeff Brenner before Atul Gawande made him famous. Each year we've brought together incredible innovators. Well, we've made the decision that it's a great thing to have it as a day-long pre-conference at the meeting, but how many people actually get to hear about it? We can only get so many people who are able to physically travel. So what we've decided to do is go national. We're identifying marketplaces in the United States where we think we can bring together not only family medicine innovators, but those innovators in the community who are dealing with the social determinants of health. So we learned from Lancaster last year. We had people there from housing, from nutrition, from the media, and they discovered, many of them, family medicine. And one of them came up to me and said, I had no idea that family physicians were the partner that I was looking for, but didn't know where to find. So we're going to replicate that throughout the country. We've got a leadership group that's forming, Len Fromer with the Turner Capital Investment, Rushika Fernandopoulos with Iora Health, Dan McCarter with 10 Medicine. We're looking for a couple more. Then we're going to identify the marketplaces. And then in this virtual world, you can hold half-day meetings or even day-long meetings where you bring people together, and I think powerful things can happen. The other thing I will mention is integrative health and the person-centered learning collaborative. Wayne Jonas has the Samueli Institute. We now have a partnership with them. They are paying us to help grow a community of practices of all types, from FQHCs to direct primary care, to hospital practices, to independent practices, to residency practices, who are going to learn how to implement some of the tools that Wayne and his team have put together. We've had 2 general conference calls to inform people about this. They are submitting applications. We're going to pick 10 to 12 practices, and then we're going to begin actually at the annual meeting to start meeting on a monthly basis. The practices will be implementing the tools and collecting data about the response. So those are the things that we've got going on right now. Would you like me to go forward to what's coming?
Yes, and I think the one thing that to highlight from what you just reviewed is that the various things, especially the programs that we're going national with, are niches that no one else in family medicine is doing. So it's not really in the AAFP's, wheelhouse, and it's not really what STFM is doing. We really have found this portion of family medicine innovation that we own. That's incredibly exciting.
So now I will go to where we are going. Oh, wait, I should just ask if anybody has questions about what I just talked about.
I have a quick question, Larry. What does it mean? What do you mean when you say going national?
So what I mean by that, I'm just going to get rid of this so I can see it. What I mean by that is we're not just doing things in the Northeast region. So very likely we are talking about Seattle, Atlanta, Chicago, Phoenix with the Innovators Network. So that to me is what it means by going national. It does not.
What happens in those places? What is?
Well, we would hold Innovator Network meetings that
Okay.
bring people together. That would be the big thing. So the obvious question is, should the FMEC become a national organization? And, you know, I'm getting, how do you say this? I'm getting old and retirement is not too far away. And the board is going to have to decide the answer to that question. They really want to go national. But we've already, with our projects, whether it's implicit or facts or the integrative learning, integrative health learning committee, we've already got people from across the country who are participating in those things. So that's what it currently means to go national. Okay, so let me tell you about where we're going. Some new things. Oh, wait a minute. I have to go back to the timeline. So just a walk down memory lane. And again, hopefully everybody got these in your materials. But you can see we started in 1992. STFM tells us we're on our own and then we're incorporated. And I've highlighted a couple things that I think are really pivotal in terms of the development of the FMEC. When the implicit network formed in 2003, that sent a message to the board and to others that we really could do these collaborative projects, and people working in teams as opposed to working alone was a powerful way to go. In 2008 was our first Innovators Network. And by the way, I just want to say again to Sally Rixey, thank you so much for the award ceremony you set up with Barbara Starfield. I still have that video recorded. We're the only family medicine organization to give her an award. I don't know if people are aware of that. In 2010, and Joe Gravel managed this process. We changed our name from STFM Northeast Region to the FMEC annual meeting. That was no small thing for those of you who were there. There was great concerns about what the reaction was going to be at STFM. And there were people on the STFM board who actually believed that the STFM Northeast Region meeting was owned by STFM. And so there was some tension, but Joe and the board managed that process very well. Within 2 years, we were FMEC and we had our own brand and we were moving on. In 2013, we sponsored the first Direct Primary Care National Summit. I don't know if people appreciate how big a deal that was. When that happened, the direct primary care movement was scattered, not organized, and when the 165 people first came to that summit, which we sponsored alone, we took all the financial risk, people suddenly discovered that they were part of a movement. They thought they were just independent people who had all kind of come across a bright idea, but they realized that they were part of a movement. The next year, STFM or AAFP realized they had made a mistake by avoiding our invitation to join. And they called, Sean Martin called me and said, how do we get in? It was a mistake. And then we've had the direct primary care summits every year that we've co-sponsored ever since. The next thing that I think was really notable.
Larry, as a direct primary care doctor, like I could not be more proud of the FMEC for really the bold leadership the organization took in bringing, you know, folks like Brian Forrest and Erica Bliss together to start it. I think it was huge, and it really did invigorate the growth of direct primary care. So thank you.
Thank you. So in 2016, we started creating public awareness events. And a public awareness event means in a community like Pittsburgh, and this was Ron Chichewicz, his ability to bring people together. We invited people across the various stakeholder groups in Pittsburgh to come to a breakfast meeting. we ended up with 25 people. We talked about the business case for family medicine. Amy got up, shared a story about how she cares for a patient that kind of blew people because they don't tend to think how family docs actually take care of people. And we got connected with the Pittsburgh Business Group on Health and a whole series of organizations that helped us with our fundraising. But we realized that by creating a place for the stakeholders to discover family medicine and vice versa, there was great opportunity for growth and development. In Cleveland the next year, we actually had 2 public awareness events, and one of them led to a partnership between Metro Health and the Cleveland Public Libraries. Chrissy, do you want to comment on that?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. So yeah, it's really been an amazing journey that at the event, one of our local medical schools, Neomed, was seated at the same table as one of my faculty who brought a couple of her medical students, and then the director of the libraries, and just started talking about what family medicine means and what our interests are, and developed this collaborative where Neomed had some grant funding and they wanted their students to do more community-based work, and the library is very interested in setting up medical clinics. They realize that their key to survival is to continue to grow and change as the communities do. So we've been setting up screenings for several years, and then we partnered with different entities, like the food bank comes and distributes food, and our registration van comes and gets folks registered for Medicaid that didn't even know that they were eligible. And just a whole bunch of different services have been brought to bear on these community-based clinics. So now we're entering the next phase with the libraries, that as they systematically take down buildings and rebuild their buildings, they are building medical clinics inside their libraries, which we will then staff and see patients. So we're pretty far along that path, and it all really started at that meeting.
Nothing like a good conversation to get things going.
That's right.
So the other thing that I was very excited about last year is we got partnered with Turner Capital Investment, which a family doctor by the name of Len Fromer has $150 million to invest in healthcare facility construction in medically underserved areas. It has to be in underserved areas. And that led to 5 proposals being submitted. And there was a private meeting with Len and those 5 organizations. And those organizations are now in partnership with Turner Capital and receiving investments that's going to increase access to healthcare in those respective communities. And then the final thing I mentioned before, in 2020, we're partnering with the Sam Welly Foundation to launch the Integrative Health and Person-Centered Learning Community. I think that's going to lead to big things. The other 2 things I want to mention that we can't take responsibility for, but we did help to serve as a Catalyst convener and incubator, and that is the Smiles for Life National Oral Health Curriculum began at an FMEC pre-conference. And Alan, do you want to mention what's happened to that?
Well, you'll be getting the press releases in the next week or 2. We're just releasing our 5th edition. We've had 2.5 million discrete site visitors, and it's become probably the largest online curriculum out there. So it's just been a wonderful ride, and it was all thanks to the FMEC for being our initial fiscal sponsor and teaching us how to raise several $100,000 a year to keep it going.
Very cool. And the final thing, Pulse, Voices from the Heart of Medicine, began with the FMEC Creative Writing Awards. And it's now a very stable, growing source for stories from family docs and others about the experience of giving and receiving care. They are up to 15,000 subscribers to that. That's Paul Gross and his team that do that. So we've had some pretty cool stuff going on. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, so where are we going?
Larry. Congratulations. I'm so impressed. Just you said you wanted me to be a part of this because you wanted me to hear what you guys are doing, and I am really, really impressed. God bless you all.
And Nick, I wanted to hear what our early conversations led to. And it was your really courageousness and Mac Baird and Pat Jonas and a small group of others that really, you know, when SDFM said, no, you're on your own, it was the courage of the group that stood forward and said, okay, we're going to do this thing, that really got this going. So I wanted to say thank you. So I'm going to tell you about where we're going, what's coming up next. The virtual world has opened up incredible opportunities for an organization like ours. So these are the offerings that we've already planned. More things will come up. So Dan Hofer was one of the innovators who came to our meeting, and Dan is a family doc in San Diego who created something called the Transitions Program, and he has demonstrated with 15 years of good clinical service and research to back it up that you don't need hospitals to take care of frail elders in the last 3 to 5 years of their life. Hey, we've got Mac Baird who joined.
Hi, I just wanted to congratulate you on all the things I've been hearing about. Sorry I was so late.
So I think, excuse me for doing this, but Mac, you sent me a text message about something that happened to you today that I think people need to hear about.
Well, you put me on the spot. I was tied up a bit and I was also outside of the house, but today we made an announcement at the University of Minnesota that there's a Mac Baird Family Medicine Leadership and Advocacy Endowed Chair that was established this week.
Congratulations, way to go.
And Renee
That's
Critchlow.
wonderful, Mac.
Congratulations, that's fantastic.
And I'm happy to say Renee Critchlow is the first occupant of this chair, who's already a leader.
Yes, he is.
Also
awesome.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just listening, trying to catch up with all you've done.
Okay, so where are we going? So Dan Hofer has figured out how to eliminate hospitals by providing proactive community-based primary care. And along the way, he's developed a knowledge and expertise that others need to have. He's developed a 6 presentation course that I think has transformative potential. So Amy Crawford and I had a good conversation with Dan about his series. We are going to sponsor the series. We're going to make it available to people. You can see the topics that are addressed here. And again, I think this has the potential as systems are moving to value-based. They have to provide education and leadership training for their physicians so that they can replicate the kind of work that Dan and his team have done. So we will be offering that shortly. I told you about the Integrative Health Learning Community. We are going to be offering a session in October, responding to the Primary Care Workforce Challenge. If we are to grow our own primary care workforce, how are we going to do it? That is led by Stacy Potts, and that'll be a 3-hour meeting, and you'll get news about that later in September. Building your organization's research capacity, Tony Kuzel, who's down at Virginia Commonwealth University, along with the team that he's developed, has developed this research capacity training that he is going to offer. And another thing that's kind of a cute idea, I think, an evening with. So we are connected with family physicians who are doing and have done amazing things. A family physician who has developed a primary care driven solution, like a Dan Hofer, a family physician legislator, a family physician who's a CEO of a healthcare system. And we're going to have podcast interviews in an evening with. They will launch at our annual meeting. The first one will be an evening with Gary Leroy, current president of AAFP, and Sean Martin, the new executive vice president. And the second one will be the next night with David Satcher. And Andrea, who's on this call, along with Eleni O'Donovan, are going to be interviewing him. And then we will do these like once a month throughout the year. Of course, we'll record them and we'll share them with pre-doc directors and residency directors across all of our academic partners. We're creating even more reason why organizations, departments, and residency programs should become FMEC academic partners, because you get all this great material available to you. So that's where we've been, and that.
Larry, are you with us? I think you froze.
I think so too. I thought it was just my computer.
Yeah. So I believe, if I can recall the agenda, then having gone through the timeline of where we've been, we do have a very simplistic slide that shows the financial growth of the organization. So when Larry comes back, we can show it. Doug, you'll be embarrassed by my number crunching, as it were. But we had copies, as you got a copy, of our budgets from 1999, 2009, and 2019. And it was fascinating to say, even for a small organization still, that basically our growth went like this. That I can tell you. So our income in 1999 was like 250,000. 10 years later, 500. And we're close to $1 million, in terms of total income and expenses too. So it's pretty cool. And I think that Larry will come back, but to keep moving, I believe the next conversation was, I think Stacy and Joe had some thoughts. Yes, Stacy, thoughts? I see Stacy, I can't see Joe. Joe.
I'm right here. I just pop up.
Yep, there you go.
I'm going to let Stacy go first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I knew he was going to say that. I'm not sure what sort of introduction Larry was going to give to this, and it's interesting that he's off right now. But a few months ago, in a pre-COVID world that we lived in, I had a epiphany or vision all of a sudden that this organization means a whole lot to me. And Larry is, as he said, getting to that near retirement age. And I started thinking about the sustainability of the FMEC. I think the FMEC is critical to faculty members and organizations throughout the Northeast. And I know it has a national impact as well. My sort of personal leadership journey would not be what it was if it weren't for the FMEC. And I didn't say in my intro earlier, but that my involvement in the FMEC board also came from Joe Gravel. So as we listen to all these stories and we see how much Joe Gravel is such an incredible mentor, it's inspiring. But that being aside, I got involved in the organization, and it helped me grow in incredible ways as a leader, and I will be forever grateful to the FMEC for that. So thinking about the next chapter for the FMEC and how it grows and changes and is sustainable under different leadership going forward, got me thinking that this is where I want to invest my money. And what I brought to the board was a challenge, which was that I would match the first $100,000 donated to the organization in a legacy campaign to give a foundation to the future of the FMEC. I think for us to recruit a really strong CEO going forward, we need to have something to show for the success of the organization and some stability in the coffers in some sort of fund that will bring it to the next chapter. So that's kind of my story and how we got here. And I think that I guess what I'm asking all of you is where does the FMEC fit in your minds in terms of what kind of experience you've had, what you've seen at your institutions, what you've seen with your junior faculty, with your residents, with your medical students, and how do we invest in that going forward?
And he's back.
So is Larry back? So Larry, I just gave a very impassioned, eloquent speech about the wonders of the FMEC. It's too bad you missed it.
So just to let everybody know, I had the recording button on.
It looks like you just turned it off. Oh, and now it's back on.
Okay, so it did tell you. Okay, that's good. So I don't, there's ghosts or something in the wire. I don't know.
So I'm just gonna say, just because I want to pull my weight here, I was called on. Larry just emailed me. Was it yesterday? Just say, would you mind saying a few words about what's meant to you? And after just seeing what this group is already, I don't need to do that. You guys already understand that. So, I definitely feel it was a seminal and has been a seminal organization. Organization doesn't even put into words what's meant to me, and I think to all of us. Just so you guys all already get it. It's a matter of just spreading the word to others is really, I think, the task that this group of leaders has right now. I think I'm not sure you talked about emerging leaders, Larry, in your stuff. Did you mention that?
I didn't mention them under the awards.
Yeah. So it just there's just so much innovation that's occurred through this organization. I think it actually is hard to even draw concrete lines necessarily to everything that this organization has impacted. So, I think we all want this to benefit future family physicians and family medicine educators. And it's kind of, I think it's a incredibly important time right now. I think we're at a branch point somewhat as far as, just future. And so I just hope that we all can rally around and give back as this organization has given to us. So that's about all I can add tonight. Stacy did a much better job. It's always hard to follow Stacy, but I still always do that anyway. But I appreciate Stacy stepping up, and I'll just say I know everybody's thinking this, so I really appreciate Stacy's role modeling and leadership as well in this important campaign.
Cool. Anybody else want to offer any comments?
So I've been thinking a lot about this. Joe, like you, I had to follow Stacy. She was the president ahead of me, and it is just not an easy thing to do, to follow somebody that's such a passionate leader, and really grateful to Stacy for putting this forth. As I think about rotating off the board, it has been really bittersweet to think about how much we've grown and how hard this is going to be for me to no longer be an active part of this group. Thank God for the planning committee that I'm still going to work on, and some other projects. And I think we have to think about what it does mean to us to be part of this really powerful, dynamic, innovative experience, and what we would be willing to give and willing to do to make sure that this carries on in the fashion and mold that has been developed.
I just want to say something very practical. This is an amazing organization, and it is that way so much, Larry, not only because of your leadership, but because of the people that you bring together. You personally truly live out the mission of bringing people together to get things done. But the reality is we live in a world where money makes the world go around. And, as the head of the Facts Project, what I have learned is what has helped us to survive and thrive is people who truly believe in the mission and are willing to contribute, on a monthly basis. Even if it's something small. Like I just got a $20 monthly donation today from my aunt, who has been liking all of our Facts things on social media for a few years, and that makes a difference. For Facts, we're thinking about doing a give $10 to Facts for our 10th anniversary, and really just trying to encourage more recurrent donors. But I think, for the FMEC, if we could equally do as well in terms of engaging people to give on a monthly basis, you know, to support this organization and to help people know that, you know, by giving $50 a month, that is one more student you're bringing to the FMEC meeting. You know, so you take that monthly gift and make it real, make it, you know, I mean, it's the picture of the child with the rice bowl. It's like, this is the student you're bringing to the FMEC meeting. So just to really encourage people to consider, you know, giving, but also giving on a monthly basis. And our other success has really been in the personal ask. And we did a very successful Giving Tuesday campaign a couple of years ago, and we got 5 new donors because one of our team members like literally emailed, you know, everyone in her family. And with our most recent campaign, we had one of our medical students like email friends that came to her wedding, and 4 of our donors from this campaign was from one student. So never underestimate the power of the personal ask, and never underestimate the value of the small monthly gift, because it really, really makes a difference. So I would encourage people to consider that as we're thinking about how do we make this organization continue to be sustainable and successful from a financial perspective moving forward.
Oh, Madam President, that seems like a perfect segue to Susan Eckert talking about our legacy campaign.
And Larry didn't even call me to ask me to say that. This was completely unscripted, so thank you. Yes, Susan has been an inspiration to us for all, I think, not just in a fundraising capacity, but I think it's always nice to have someone who hasn't been as intimately involved in the family medicine community, who brings a different skill set into our group and has been wonderfully helpful for me as well in terms of transitions of boards and how do you do that and evaluations and more of the practical things. But Susan, we'll let you talk about why why you're officially here. And you're muted. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
I'm officially here, but there's also, in addition to the very compelling remarks that Joe and Stacy and Marguerite made, Alan Roth is chairing our group. It consists of Chrissy and Amy, ex officio, Joe, Stacy, Jen Sparks, and Pam. And so there's a small group, a small team that's come together to look at how we're going to do this. Our goal is to raise $500,000, and thanks to Stacy's challenge, the first $100,000 will be matched. So that means you really have impact that way. The campaign will run over 4 or 5 years, which that depends on the interest of the donors of making a gift over a period of time. We really did, the board, the committee and the board approved all the materials for the campaign, but when the pandemic hit, it forced us to take a pause. And we've spent the last few months making sure that we have all the proper infrastructure in place, including new software for the FMEC so that we can accept gifts and respond to gifts and steward appropriately. FMEC is very much at a critical juncture. In many ways, the growth that's just been demonstrated in the documents that you saw has been phenomenal. But in many ways, Larry's done it with a little bit here and a little bit there and a constant chatter with those who could invest. And when we think about not having Larry as part of this organization, we really need to show a future leader that this is a stable and important asset to family medicine. I don't think I need to go into too much more detail about the campaign itself, except to say that we're organized, we're ready, and we anticipate that we'll actually kick off the campaign after the virtual meeting. I have to say the other part of what I've watched for the last few months is that the FMEC staff is simply amazing. And they have had to go through a process of changing everything. how they think about the meeting, how they organize the meeting, how they advertise the meeting. And we don't want to put any more stress on them right now. So we're looking at kicking off after the virtual meeting in October. And we're very grateful to Stacy, because the challenge that she's making to us is really two things. It's first, it's an inspiration to all of us about the importance and the power of giving. But it really was what she said about FMEC and its incredible role in her own personal and professional development that I think there are similar stories throughout this series of boxes. And so we really do say a very loud thank you to Stacy Potts for not only believing in FMEC, but for investing in FMEC. Very much a big thank you to Alan Roth, who's gone through hell. I listened to the series, the audio that Larry and Alan put together about the pandemic in Jamaica, and it's been phenomenal. So at any rate, you're all familiar with that, but what I want to say is that we'll come back and we will be asking you for a gift, and we hope that you are able to invest in FMEC to ensure its stability and its future. So I think I'll hand it back to Larry.
If I could just make one other comment. So if you go back to that table of organization that I showed originally, and you've got the FMEC staff, and you've got, we've got our resource people that are working there. And in the middle of it is the CEO. And there's not another person with the CEO who's at what you might call a professional level. So we've created all of the academic partnerships, which I told you raised $137,000 last year. That could triple in a year, certainly in 2 years. We've got these projects like the Innovators Network going national, which could raise significant amounts of money. That's a service we're delivering to organizations and communities. That could raise a lot of money. We've got the Sam Welly Institute, et cetera, et cetera. What we don't have is somebody to work along with me who can do some of that labor. It does take a lot of time and energy to contact chairs of departments and residency programs and recruit them to be academic partners. It does take a lot of time and energy. So we need what we're calling the Chief Growth Officer to join with me for a period of time, and then I will move on and you'll hire a new CEO. But that new CEO will be coming into a stable organization with a Chief Growth Officer and the other supports that are needed. So the goal is to attract somebody who's really got some experience. You all know I had no experience like this. I did not lead a large organization. I did not have the financial management skills. I knew how to write grants, and I learned how to do fundraising. But we need somebody with that kind of leadership to come in to take the FMEC and really develop the potential. And I'm quite serious about saying the goal is a primary care driven system in the United States. And we can play a role in that. I think you can see with a number of our projects how we are actually helping create energy that's moving in that direction. And so the funds that will be used, the first thing will be to get that Chief Growth Officer who can work along with me, and I can sort of coach them in the FMEC ways, which are not like the ways of other organizations. You wouldn't get to where we are with just being a member-driven organization, for example. So I just I point that out to you. That's the biggest change that needs to happen in that table of organization. So with that, I'm gonna shut up.
So we've covered a lot in an hour and a half, a lot of great visiting. I think a lot of great information. I'm really intrigued by the folks who spent time in the early years in terms of how this feels either consistent and the same, or does it feel different than what the reality of your FMEC?
I'll contribute on that one because I've been here since the 1700s. It's actually amazing to listen in. And congrats to Larry, congrats to everybody here and those many who aren't here with us tonight that have been part of the development of the organization. But without the long stories, I certainly remember the early days of sitting around tables and thinking, what would a consortium be like before it was formed? And putting together a meeting on less than a shoestring and calling people up, 1,000 or so to try to get a Northeast regional meeting off the ground. It's just a phenomenal collection of accomplishments, people, organizational skills, and productivity that have contributed in very many ways. And so, it really is a moment to recognize everyone, especially Larry, for what he's done, because having been there in the early discussions, he did learn it one little step at a time and has developed the energy and brought together people to help things going forward. So the early days were just a bunch of people around a table saying, how are we going to pull off a meeting once the STFM was going to let it go and the FMEC was going to be the infrastructure organization, which meant Larry and anybody else he could recruit to work with him. And a lot, I'm not going to mention everybody now. So it's wonderful to hear that. I am touched by Stacy's generosity and passion as often. And so I can't let that go unrecognized. That matches, I know, the passion of everybody that's listening in tonight, but I think it's just so important to acknowledge, take this moment in time as Larry is self-acknowledging that he's not going to do this until he's 108 years old, maybe 106, maybe 104, but not 108. And so, it is a moment to reflect and say the future of an organization, but also to take stock in all that's been done. And it's just wonderful to be here for it. And so thanks for pulling this together tonight at the craziest of times that I can remember in healthcare and that we're all wrestling with in one way or another. So it really is heartwarming to do it on a night like tonight. And thanks.
So I want to add to the early days when Mike was one of my students, but leaving that aside, the issue really is that Larry has been very important, obviously the central person of the whole organization, but the major leap forward in the Northeast Regional Meeting, which then became, of course, FEMEC, was Nick's vision. Nick had this phenomenal vision of bringing all these people to Lancaster and taking a meeting that was a small little meeting and getting enough funding to bring 300 students. And that leapt us forward in a major way. For those of us who were not there, who were there, at the beginning, it was just a gasp of change in terms of the meeting. I know the meeting I ran in New Brunswick was much smaller, 100, 120 people. All of a sudden, Nick's saying, no, we're going to have 300 students. So that vision, the big vision, I don't want to leave out Nick's contribution as well as Larry's, that's all.
Well, I can comment. I remember those early days when we were the Northeast Regional Meeting of the Society of Teachers of Family Medicine. It was 1990, 91 when we were struggling to attract more students into our specialty. And we felt that our specialty was a well-kept secret from a lot of medical students in a lot of these medical schools around, especially in the Northeast. They didn't know much about us. And I remember going to these meetings of the STFM, and these meetings would consist of anywhere between 50 to maybe not much more than 100 people that were there, and there were program directors, some residents, no students, maybe a few that were invited here and there. But it was a show and tell. We were trying to help us develop our skills as educators in our specialty. And it occurred to me when Larry or whoever asked us to have the meeting in Lancaster, or consider having the meeting in Lancaster, that let's do it a little differently. And the idea was, since we are show and tell, we ought to be telling our students in our medical schools what we do. So why don't we get the students to come and see what we do when we teach dermatology or OB or infectious diseases or whatever it might be. So the idea was, well, how are we going to get students to come? Because obviously it's an expense. Students probably, most of them wouldn't have the money to come. And people like Paul Brucker and myself got talking about it. And we said, well, you know, let's try to raise the money and have student scholarships and have the students come. And he knew people at the Pew Foundation at the time. And the Pew Foundation actually was expressing great concerns in some of their literature about what's happening to the healthcare delivery system, especially in the primary care arena. So they were very open when Paul Brucker called his friends there and said, we'd like to come talk to you about an idea that we have. So we went there together to talk to them about our idea about this special kind of meeting. And we got $50,000 from them right off the bat. And besides that, we thought about other foundations in the area, Philadelphia, Lancaster, and thereabouts. And we sold them on this kind of meeting, and there was real concern by a lot of people about having a primary care, you know, trying to do something about primary care, especially what our specialty was called, family medicine. So the rest is history. We also got the state academies to contribute. Hospitals, which had residency programs, had a vested interest in also contributing to these scholarships. So we got the hospitals that had residency programs to also give us money. So we raised so much money, believe it or not, with it, that, and of course, when the residency directors knew that we were going to have students there and they were going to be able to use that opportunity to recruit, we had something like 350 faculty attend that first meeting in Lancaster, along with the 350 plus medical students. And it blew us all away. But we raised a lot of money. And at the end of the meeting, people like Larry and I talked about, what are we going to do with all this money? And obviously, Larry being Larry, he had this brilliant idea, and the rest is history. We created the Family Medicine Education Consortium, and on we went.
I want to add that the FMEC has a progeny. So the Midwest SDFM meeting had collapsed, and I talked to Larry, and he helped us reorganize the Midwest section into basically the model of FMEC, except it didn't separate from SDFM, but it's now Family Medicine Midwest. And once again, not only students get to see what family medicine is, but young faculty that aren't ready to go yet to the national stage felt empowered to go to the regional meeting. And now that's blossomed into a parallel course. And so you've developed a next generation of FMEC even. So it's very, very generative. And Larry started that. He was our consultant to set up Family Medicine Midwest, and it's a roaring success also. So you've done it in 2 places.
I will say, Mac, Vince Keenan from the Illinois Academy of Family Physicians calls me the grandpa of Family Medicine Midwest, and I wear that with great pride.
And you should, and you are. So well done.
I will tell you, I've been trying to get the Southeast to get organized, and I haven't found the right person yet, but they should be doing something at a regional level. They have, if you think about Georgia, Florida, Carolinas, they have the nexus to pull it off. talked to a few people, but it hasn't quite happened. And I've talked to the folks in California and WWAMI about doing something like this, and it just hasn't caught fire, but maybe it will. But I think a regional organization has a kind of power that the national organizations and I don't mean this in a critical way, but they get away from the grassroots somewhat, become maybe a little too insular. But at the regional level, you got to really hustle, and that hustle pushes you to develop relationships and to build.
And might I add something more? I didn't want to forget this part of it, which was so important. We got our residents involved, not only in Lancaster, but throughout the region. And Pam Vanenchek played such a magnificent role in that year, because she was a resident in our program at the time. And I can't thank her enough for the contributions she made to help get this thing started. And here she is, now the program director at Lancaster. Makes us all very proud.
Oh, there's actually a number of people, if my memory serves correct, there's a number of people on this call who were at that meeting in 1992 as either students or residents. And that is way cool.
Can I just ask Susan and Larry just one question that's kind of in my mind is, you know, we are in the midst of a pandemic, so I don't think there's a lot of in the literature about how to raise money in a pandemic or during a pandemic. But I guess my question is, you know, one concern I have is because in terms of asking people, you know, a lot of people might have even their jobs threatened or salary cuts, or they might be contributing to food banks and other things right now. So my question is there a way that we can handle that in terms of somebody might not feel ready or able to make a long-term commitment given all the uncertainty, yet have a mechanism by which hopefully once this thing passes that there's a mechanism in place such that they could increase their donation
later
down the road. And it's kind of not, it's kind of embedded in kind of our bookkeeping, so to speak, rather than just, you know, please get back to us next year kind of thing.
Go ahead, Susan.
I think Marguerite gave us the first tip on that, and that is that this can't be just a letter that arrives at your doorstep or at your office. It has to be more personal. I really hope that we can have people making personal contacts, our committee asking and sort of gathering that information so that we can respond exactly as flexibly as you've mentioned. I've been looking at a lot of the literature right now, and when we first put this on pause because of the pandemic, there were two reasons. The other one was stock market crash. And with the stock market tanking and the pandemic, it really was not the right moment. As we've sort of moved forward, the other thing is that it is going to be a lot better after this election. The uncertainty of the election also, I was always, in the United Way, every 4 years when there was a presidential election, I would put my head down because it's uncertain times. So once we finish with an election, and that's not a political statement, that's a fundraising statement, I think we'll find it easier to approach people. But the whole idea of this is to be flexible with donors. That if they'd rather go for make a 1-year commitment and then extend, that absolutely can be done. And you know, Larry will have to answer this now because, of course, part of the issue is, have we raised enough money to be able to start making this transition? But from a donor perspective, yes, we can be very flexible, and we should be.
So the other piece I will add to that is I think it's really important that we get started.
Yeah.
You know, it's the flywheel. We need to get started, and it may start small. And people may be, because of uncertainty and, uncertainty, and as you say, people may be giving to other sources because food banks and other social net, the rest of the social net needs to be maintained. But I think we need to get started. And as Susan said, they could start with a 1 year at a certain level, and then they could extend and grow as things clarify and they may feel a little more secure. But I think that point, we've been talking about this for a long, long time before Susan was involved. And we just need to get started somewhere and then build. That's my opinion.
I would agree, Larry. I mean, and again, just going off of our experience, I mean, we started with monthly donors probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And the first few, as you know, were related to me in some way, shape, or form. But gradually, you know, over a few years, we built it up to a steady core of about 20 people. So I think, you know, Stacy and Raj give regularly. And I mean, I think just it's okay to grow it slow, but I think the important thing is that we're growing, right? That we're adding. And to Susan's point, it is the personal touch. I mean, it can be a letter, but it has to be clear that this is, you know, a personal letter, you know, that's maybe followed up with a phone call or, but start small and grow. I mean, that's what the FMEC has done when you think about the meeting and the projects and the growth. I mean, that's how we do it.
I do have this recurring fantasy about a dying millionaire who feels remorseful because this person has been a savage or a crony capitalist throughout his or her life, and they want to do what's right, you know, as they're getting ready for their next life.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was told years ago to get over that fantasy and start building a community of donors. And that's how the development works. You start building a community, and then over time, things happen. I will also say this, and this is another wild and crazy idea. We are now 1 degree of separation away from billionaires. I'm not going to name names, and it's not just one. Our projects are putting us into contact with people who are part of Buffett and Gates pledge. If you know what that is, they've agreed to give away half their money in their lifetime. We are literally 1 degree of separation away from some of those people. That would be a wild idea that somebody would want to invest in this organization's future because of what we're doing. But I think our projects and our growth are leading us there and attracting attention. And I'm not going to get into any more detail about that, but I do think that is a possibility in the not too distant future. I think the whole thing is, though, we have to get going. Susan and Shayla and Doug did a great job getting us onto Network for Good and away from the software we were on. It's been tested, it's stable. We are poised to begin the process and to grow. And I just want to say, I came prepared. I don't know if you can see this, this virtual thing. It's a glass of wine. So I'm starting the happy hour portion of this meeting, and I see Jen Sparks there. Yes.
I love how your background hides it. That's very tricky.
Yeah.
Very tricky.
That's how he does his 10 a.m. meetings.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It's in the chat box. It's only 6:30 here in Utah, but I need to go join my family for dinner. So it's Great to see everyone.
Before you leave, can we take a picture?
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody put on your camera. I mean, put on your video.
Great idea. We should put it on social media.
I know.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Is everybody putting on your camera?
Not
Waiting
Not
for Sally,
the
Erin.
bottom line there. All right, well, I'll just take it while people are off camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, one more time. All right. Good, keep smiling, yay. Oh, good, there you are.
There's
Sally's
Sally.
okay. All righty.
Thanks, Andrea. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea,
Don,
yes.
it's like you came out the shadows, Don.
Andrea, I want to see
Yeah.
you soon. We'll talk.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, Mike.
Larry, I think we have come to the natural conclusion of our agenda. We did leave time for further visiting. I think we jumped off really well in the beginning with our visiting, so there's always room for more wine, whatever. I just wanted to say how much I have appreciated, even though it's been a sisterhood for the last 3 presidents, having Stacy and Chrissy to talk with. As Stacy and I were both moving out of our PD jobs, and when this was first going on with me, I texted Chrissy, and it was such a long text. She just said, I just need to call her and say, is it normal to be excited about the next step and then still break into tears whenever you think about giving up your program? And she reassured me that yes, that was indeed an experience. So that was good. So, and then just Larry's, oh, and I have to say that from a personal perspective, transitioning after only 5 years out of a PD job was not what I'd experienced, because I worked with Bill Warning, who's still at it for 22 years in, and I was trained by Sam Jones, who just moved out of that now after like 100 years as a program director. And I know that you Lancaster folks had a similar kind of thing. So it felt very strange. But just having this community to bounce ideas off of, a culture where no idea is too crazy, and a culture where the guts to say primary care, family medicine needs to be running American healthcare because no one else has done it right. To have the guts and energy to kind of not only believe it, but to have these projects to help make it so has been one of the most important experiences of my professional life. So thank you, Bill Warning, for getting me involved, and thanks for Larry for dragging me along and, making me join things.
I always preface whenever I introduce someone to Larry, I say, I'm going to send an email to Larry Bauer, and I take no responsibility after that. And the ride, just hold on. All you have to do is just hold on.
So, Bill, I remember when I first met you on the floor of the national conference meeting, and I told you you were an innovator, and you argued with me that you're not. You were just doing this thing that was called the patient-centered medical home that nobody else was doing at the time. And you were very much an introvert. And the idea, because you were chair of the host committee, the idea of doing the fundraising literally turned your, you sort of blanched when you even thought about it. And here we are now, just yesterday or today, with Richard Snyder coming in with another $10,000 and the possibility of connecting us up with other Blue Cross Blue Shield plans that could get very interesting if they're really serious about health equity and supporting minority, underrepresented minority students. And that's a credit to you and your transformation. You're still an introvert, and you still don't like dancing on the dance floor. But
this is my bottle of wine right now.
Yeah, right there.
I just want to, so I have the coffee cup, and then I just have to have this right next to it.
Yeah,
I can't move. So yes, definitely an introvert. You don't say no to Larry. You definitely never say no to Sally. I don't think I could ever say no to Sally.
Oh, it's impossible. It's not possible at all.
I mean,
So the other thing I'll mention to you is don't forget the virtual meeting that's coming up. I will tell you the biggest challenge that we've had. So the national conference, what they chose to do is focus on where their prime money comes from, which is their what do you call it? The hall, the expo hall, and their academic programming they cut way back because they thought it would be complex, and they had problems with their meeting because the residency fair, the expo hall side had problems with it. STFM that just finished up last week took a different direction. They took all their academic presentations and they put most of them into a library, and they took 10% of them and had individual sessions at a time. So there wasn't too much going on. And they can get away with that because people need to have that academic merit badge on their CV to say, I presented at a national meeting, I was accepted and presented. But to me, it was a bit underwhelming, and I don't mean to be critical, it just didn't have the right mix. We've taken, for our meeting, I think the most challenging route. We're going to have a lot of presentations, not the usual 20 at a time, but 10 at a time that people can pick from. We're also going to have the residency fair, and we're going to have the hot topics in family medicine before the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, before the meeting. But we've really tried to figure out how do we create opportunities for networking or energy to happen. And I really will be curious to see if how we pull this off. I am some considerable anxiety and trepidation, but I think if we hit it, it's really going to be another strong FMEC meeting, only in the virtual world. And you know, my biggest concern right now is students in residency programs, because they can't come together. They need a way. The students are very, very anxious, and the residency programs are anxious. So if we can be a sweet spot for them to come together, and it works the way that the platform has now promised it works. They said they fixed their problems that happened with the national conference. I've talked with their CEO, Chrissy and I talked with their CEO. I got my fingers crossed, but I think there's a real opportunity here. And I think we will never, ever go back to just a face-to-face meeting again. This whole virtual thing has exploded with ideas. You can bring so much to the country with this that I think we will always, even if there's an effective vaccine, and even if the people get comfortable with the idea of being together and hugging and shaking hands and all that good stuff, I think that we will never be the way we used to be. That's personal opinion.
Have residency booths?
Yes. Yes. We have residency booths. We have an exhibit hall. We have a poster session hall. We have David Satcher coming. We have, I mean, you can do this in the virtual world. People can come from their homes. I mean, if Stephen Colbert can run a show from his home all these nights, you can do almost anything virtual except actually touch each other. But yeah, we've got Gary Leroy and Sean Martin, leaders from AAFP, coming. I mean, it's really there's a lot there.
So students will be able to visit, let's say, 12 programs.
Yes.
How about that? Congratulations.
That's impressive.
Dance.
That's the one thing that's missing.
That's fine with me. I think we're good.
Craig, we have to dance.
Absolutely, I agree.
Virtually.
Maybe we do a virtual dance.
I'm for virtual dancing.
The thing I love about virtual dancing is I can do it with my cane.
I was gonna say, I went to a wedding, virtual wedding, and they had a DJ going, and everyone was dancing at home.
Oh, how
Yeah, so
fun.
it is doable.
All right,
I
Craig,
like
you're in my dance card, Craig.
I love it.
Dr. Zavanas, you're in my dance card.
Seriously, we've been trying to figure out what a virtual happy hour looks like when you're trying to get people together who are.
Honey, we're having one tonight. Are you kidding?
I
Looking
think-
at it. Yeah.
Cheers, right now.
Yeah, this is what a virtual happy hour looks like.
For people who don't already know each other, I kind of like the virtual dance party as the way to do that.
Totally.
'Cause you have to drink in order to dance virtually in front of people you don't know anyway, probably. So it might be a nice twofer.
Whenever you figure it out, I'll be in charge of the music.
Awesome. Awesome.
It will be Willie Nelson.
Oh. Any other final thoughts? I want to be respectful for people's rest of their evenings and time.
Why would you do that?
I know, right? 'Cause I'm tired.
Bedtime.
Isn't it past your bedtime? Weren't you just saying that, Amy?
Yeah, we know Amy's had it by now.
All right,
Actually, I had a question for Andrea.
I am no different. It's my bedtime.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Andrea, I heard how
Okay.
hard you're working. Do you ever sleep?
Sometimes. I have a 2-year-old, so it's hard.
Okay,
Oh.
okay.
Bless.
I'll take her during the day.
Awesome. Let's work it out.
Grandkids, I'll take her.
I'll PM you.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing everybody at the dance party.
That sounds terrific.
I love you guys.
This has been magical. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Really great.
Well,
Good
Bye, y'all.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Good to see you.